Guy,
Oh,
and
okay,
hey,
now
hey, I'm
we're
still
live.
Guy. I'm still Guy, even though I was Guy before. And I'm here with Pepper, and we're checking in again for this week. Oh,
I am so sorry.
that's all right. It's all good. It's all good.
Oh,
That's the benefit of doing a podcast every month or every week, I guess, is that I'm good with just rolling. And if you've ever listened or watched Geek Tank, you'll know that we just mistakes just we roll with it.
cool.
It just goes, and everybody's like, "Well, I guess we screwed that up, didn't we?" And we just look at the screen like, well, hope you didn't notice that. That's like one of the running gags in Geek Tank is we're going to edit that out, aren't we? Yeah, we're going to edit that out. And then we don't.
Well, I mean, no, I'd rather not edit it out because it makes it great.
It just makes a mess. Makes it too hard to have to deal with all this crap. Yeah, no, I'm good. Okay, so we're here doing the short version of our artist check-in. I have written down for you, Pepper, that you had 4 pages inked and 2 pages penciled that was your plan for 12/20 to have done by 1/10. So, by the way, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, where are you on that goal?
So, 1 page of finished pencils. The other 2 pages have been laid out. All that is formulated.
Mm-hmm.
However, after I got the very first page done, since I am co-creator and the main artist, and I do the pretty pictures that go with the writing, the writer, who I'm married to, which if you ever really want to test those boundaries of your marriage,
right?
Basically said I drew the wrong thing, and I was not supposed to do something that is in the page. So I said, I don't want to redraw the entire panel. I love this panel. I love on how it came out. I love the layout, everything. If I just have to change this one thing for you, we're doing it in inking. Yeah. I am not doing it now. I have hard penciled. It's set. But that came after like a half an hour of going back and forth of whatever. And then I was just like, all right, you know what? I need to really make sure that I have the proper scenery and details that he wants for the next 2 pages. So a little bit of back, but as far as penciling goes, I found this really odd, interesting challenge through Twitter. The person who does the artwork for the Wonder Twins posted it. And the writers that were attached to it are from Wicked and Divine. So I think this is an open for the public thing where you ask and then you interpret a 1-page comic page based off of the writing that they gave you. And so I have that laid out, and I'm going to be penciling that today after I went through a whole bunch of thumbnails, and I just have to put in the figures now and then finish it and then send it back to them.
Okay, cool. So on your but to not to cut you off, Pepper.
Oh, yes, I did finish the 4 inking pages. Yes.
4 inking pages. Okay, yes. And the 2 penciled pages?
The 2 pencil pages, technically I did layouts and
sort of.
Nothing hard for those 2 penciled pages yet. So yeah.
So I went on ahead. I had character designs, rough draft, and outline as my goals for 1/10. What I noticed when I went through all of my storyline was that I still have a larger overstory problem. So I had to go through and tear out a lot of the overstory and redo that. It's a lot of the growing pains of starting a new project. I'm actually merging two things together at the same time to, not only am I taking my old Tamerlane, but I've been making a card game for a very, very long time. And I realized that I had a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup moment where the card game needed backstory and my story sort of needed structure. And I was like, I could merge these two together and make the card game of the comic sort of thing, and the comic to be backstory for the card game.
Yeah.
And so I restructured a lot of this, but there's a couple of growing pains that go into this. Like in a card game, you have, one or two races or whatever, and they're fighting. We don't know why. That's why I needed a backstory. But when I built this, I sort of altered and changed the card game and this together to merge them together. And one of the things we were running into is, why are these two people fighting? In a card game, it's pretty straight up, right? Yeah. I'm one team, you're team two. We fight. That's what happens in a card game. But if you're going to do the backstory, we have to kind of do Group A doesn't like Group B's pants, so they have to fight. You've got to come up with the why. So I kind of went back and tore out a whole bunch of stuff that's going on in here, and then had to go through and restructure stuff. More in the card game than in our story, but I still needed a over arc. There are other things when I'm writing, I like to drop little things like, it's the reality of the world. If you look at like the people you talk to around you and stuff like that. So there was I'll explain more about that when we get into our long version. Because we're already at 7 minutes. But the long and the short of it is I have no rough draft or an outline at this point in time, because I think I'm going to go back and add a short story prior to the existing story to give a little bit more background of what's going on, rather than drop you in the middle of this that would make it sort of seem like it's a little bit more Star Trek than it is. So kind of want to fix that. So that's that. What's your goal for 117?
So for 117, my goal is, hold on, error on the page. My goal is, is actually to finish the inks for part 1 of chapter 2 of the comic I'm doing for Campfire Stories of Lake Kiki Poppy. The reason for that being is I need to move fast. I have a February deadline, and going back and forth with the pencils and the problems I'm having, because I'm having more of a hard check now with my artwork.
Right.
Because the writing for this part has to be drawn specifically. So there's a lot of feedback more that I'm getting.
Sure.
And quite honestly, I need to make sure that my marriage lasts. So
your marriage has to survive this.
Yes.
My wife is usually my editor, and so that she usually just hits it after it's been written. So
yeah,
that's a safer thing.
My editor is my best friend from elementary school. So.
Right.
She checked his writing, and basically she was like, it's very imaginative, blah 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 blah, very different than the way that Pepper writes. It's much better.
So you've got to finish inking part 1, and
yes, which is
that just pretty much it?
Well, from there I'm gonna go on to coloring, but I'm taking. So this week I'm taking the whole entire week to do 9 pages of inks. Which
9 pages.
I know seems ambitious. However, it's all the artwork's done. I'm just inking.
That makes sense.
So, but I can do probably roughly about 1.5 pages every day.
I'm doing the math in my head. That's really tight.
It's a really tight schedule, yes.
Yeah.
My iPad is going to get a very good workout, and
Right? How many of those are you going to go through? How many how many
how many Apple
podcasts?
Pencils am I not going to break? Yeah. Anyway, time sensitivity. Anyway, that's all I'm going to focus on for right now.
Fair.
What are you going to do? Because it seems like you already have a plan.
Yeah, I'm gonna head for finishing up my overstory because I just got all of that squared away. I think I've got them merged together.
Okay.
So I'm going to finish that overstory. This includes like backstory stuff that I want to make sure, when did the war start? Why did the war start? Who was the president at the time of the war starting? And, things like that.
Yeah.
So that all of that is sort of in there as to why there's a conflict. So I'm going to finish all of that. I've got most of it already in. I just want to finish it up. I also want to do a couple of like maybe 2 main sketches. So to kind of give like a feel of the universe.
Mhm.
I sometimes do these whenever they're effectively splash pages, but they're splash pages that don't belong to the comic anywhere.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping this is one of the big ambitious ones. The shuttlecraft, the launch. I want to finish a launch because we've got a few of those that are coming up in my story where I need launches. So I don't have, without a script, I don't know what sets I need yet. And I build all of my sets in 3D.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is I'll build the set in 3D and then draw on all of the walls to make it look like it was hand drawn. And then I will render that out, and then I draw the characters over that in the 3D space. That gives me good perspective. Perspective is one of those things that drives me crazy. So
Yeah.
that's what I will do. That's my battle plan, and I'm sticking to it. So we've gone way over our like 4-minute mark on this.
Yeah.
So
So
if you want to hear more about both of these things, you can join us at on my page at GS Davis or at patreon.com/GS Davis Art. And you can find Peppers on his, which is patreon.com/Pepper DeLuca.
all right.
Okay.
You guys.
See you next week.